Welcome back to the Take Time Book Club. Today we are discussing the final part of Take My Hand by Dolen Perkins-Valdez. So just to start everyone off, I want to do a quick recap of what's happened in part 3 before we dive into the discussion about part 3 and our overall thoughts about the book. So just to recap the plot of part 3, the trial has started and Lou is arguing that the administering of Depo-Provera without informed consent and uses this to argue that the issue of sterilization proves a system of abuse. Sybil and Mace actually kiss, which is crazy. And then you have Sybil is still not working, so she still is not really searching for a job. We have that Sybil, Alicia, and the Rousleys, which is Ty's family, they go to the Magic City Classic, which is a football game. Aunt Ross takes June, which is Sybil's mother, to Memphis. They win the court case, but then Erica goes missing. So Sybil's mom actually returns home to help Sybil through this. Erica is found after 4 days, and she was actually at her old house. So then the 2016 version, we actually have Sybil is going to visit Erica and India. And Erica and India are living together, and Erica is helping India. And then back in 1973, the Townsends actually host Thanksgiving. And at this Thanksgiving dinner, Mrs. Williams announces that the family is going to quit Montgomery, and they're actually going to move in with their cousin. And then we have in the 2016, Sybil reflects on motherhood and making the choice to adopt a child at 48. And then back in 1973, Sybil finally says goodbye to Mace right before he leaves. And then we see in 2016, Sybil actually makes a trip to Birmingham to see Ty again. So that's where we leave off. Sybil's in the car driving to Birmingham. So part 3 was absolutely amazing. First question, how would you describe part 3 in one word?
I would say captivating.
Ooh, that's a good word, Claire. That's a good word. Sydney?
I would say, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Maybe like strength or bond or family.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. I would say closure. I think you have a lot of closure,
That's a good
especially
word.
as a reader. So I also want to know, how did you guys feel about the courtroom scenes? So, yeah, specifically looking at, I marked down a few pages where I thought the scenes were really good. 281, 292, 294, and 306. But just off, if you have any other like courtroom scenes that stood out to you. For me, it was that they kind of added this like really nice fast pacing. And it was very high stakes. Like, I felt like every courtroom scene, I was with Sybil, like, what's going to happen to the girls. So I think it added really nice stakes in the story. Like, it helped you understand the stakes even after the girls are already sterilized.
I agree. I think I really liked the courtroom scene where the doctor from Washington, she comes in, and she's kind of, like, very unassuming at first, and then Sybil realizes that, like, she's one of the witnesses called to the stand, and she has all these different statistics. I thought that was really powerful, and how, she reaches out, she goes out at the end, like during a recess or the trial day, to go find her, and the doctor's just like gone. I like how it's kind of left like, wow, like this woman was here, and then just as soon as she was here, like she was gone. But her statements were just really, really impactful. Like on 292 it says, a woman who had been sitting in the back row stood. I assumed she was a local and onlooker like me. I waited impatiently for her to be sworn in. And then it goes further down, and she has all these different statistics about North Carolina. She has how 55% of those who are sterilized were teenagers as well. And it kind of causes this chaos in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's definitely one of my favorite courtroom scenes.
Yeah, one thing I appreciate about the courtroom scenes was the first thing that stood out was the only time we really see all the, I guess, courtroom jargon was when the judge was reading the verdict. And I thought that was really powerful. And then another thing, the courtroom scenes give us a real chance to really hear the data and the facts. So that was really good.
Yes. Like Claire was saying, 292 is also one of my favorites because it's also Sybil seeing a black female doctor, And it's this nice kind of parallel of who Sybil is going to be in the future. And so it's like kind of this double meaning, I think, of not only is this doctor standing up for morals and ethics Sybil believes in, but then also she looks like Sybil.
Yeah.
And she comes from a world that Sybil can relate to, being a black woman, which I thought was really interesting. And the other scene that really stood out to me was on 281 when they were talking about the report that was written, and it was Lance Pash, yes. And so I think that's just really interesting because it's really showing how many people are involved in a court case and showing how many people kind of were complicit and how many steps they had to go through to kind of intervene policy and go to a place where people were getting sterilized without informed consent, people were giving birth control and reproductive measures without informed consent, which I thought was really, really interesting. So my next question is, how did you guys feel when Erica ran away, but at this point we don't know that she ran away, and then what do you think the symbolism of that is?
For me, I was really scared when I first read that. I think that she's already gone through a very traumatic event, and especially the way that was talked about her growing up and stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, what if something happened to her? So I was really relieved when they found that she was safe and she was okay. And I thought it was really interesting, number one, where she ran away to. Of course, it was her home, what she knew. And then also the way that she was very, I guess, crafty, intelligent, right? Because they were she heard people coming and she would just hide. Mm-hmm. Or she would just kind of avoid them. Because they were that's the first place we checked. Even though we were no way she's in there because she hated that place. And I just thought that was a really interesting choice.
Mm-hmm. I think she went somewhere where she was invisible, not only in that point, but throughout her life, because up until the point of them meeting Sybil, the family was essentially invisible. No one really knew about them.
No one saw them.
No one really saw them a lot, So I think she wanted that sense of she missed when, things were just normal, she didn't have a sterilization process. The news people weren't constantly watching over her in her house and asking her questions and stuff like that. But I was really relieved when they found her too, because I was oh my gosh, they've come so far, only for even more bad stuff to happen to them. I was I really hope that they find her. So those were kind of my thoughts.
I agree. I think it was this idea that she was escaping Montgomery, but then also she was escaping who she'd become in a way, because that house was the last point where she didn't know Sybil, like you were saying, Claire, and so it was really just her sister, her father, and her grandmother, and so it's this desire for life as it used to be, which is so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Especially because Erica has a lot of scenes where she's talking about oh, I'm never gonna have children, I'll never have a husband, and when you think about a young 13-year-old girl going through that, it's just wow, can't even imagine. And especially because this is based off of and inspired by true events, and that young women that had this happen to them, it's just heartbreaking. But it's so well done. So my next question is actually, how do we think community, family, and responsibility change throughout the book? And this is kind of related to your word that you gave us earlier, Sydney, since you said familial, right?
Yeah. I think that the relationships changed so much in this book. And it was really interesting to me because my personal favorite relationship that kind of developed in the book was between Sybil and Lou. I just thought that was really sweet, the way they kind of looked out for each other. And specifically page 263, she's asking him do you have indigestion? Does your stomach hurt? And he's yeah. And they have this really sweet moment where she's I'll give you Tums. Let me tell you. So it says, so this on the bottom of 263. You have indigestion, don't you? I watched them closely. How do you know? You just rubbed your belly. Do you mind going to buy me some Tums? Sure. How long do we have? An hour. I'll meet you back here. He took off, swinging his briefcase at his side. After recess, Lou sat at the table, rolling the unopened Tums package between his fingers. I thought that was a really sweet moment, and it just showed how close they've gotten, because they really did become almost like a makeshift family, or at least this version of like a support system. Because Sybil was there every day, Lou was there every day, so it was really sweet to see.
It's this sense of like camaraderie over a shared goal, which is really interesting.
I think one of my favorite relationships was definitely her mom's relationship with her aunt, which is like June's sister and Ross. And I think it was really beautiful how, I'm trying to find it. So they talk about like Aunt Ross like staying through Thanksgiving and everything, and how there's like this sense of like family now that Sybil didn't kind of really experience because her mom did have like depressive episodes, it sounds like. But one thing that I really liked was how, I believe it's somewhere within chapter 48 maybe, but Sybil's mom talks about how Aunt Ross has kind of these like unconventional methods of getting through depression and different like mental health issues. Like she talks about how
319.
She talks about how Aunt Ross has like a group of women in her house that meet all the time, and they like write stuff and then throw it into the fire. Like that's something that people do very commonly. Like they write stuff, they break it, they throw it away. You know, it's like getting rid of like the bad stuff, you know, allowing new stuff to come in. But I just imagine like for this being like the early 70s, like that was very revolutionary for its time. And so I think that Aunt Ross's approach, you know, her kind of unorthodox approach to mental health, I think that's really helped June. And I think that June being away was the best medicine that she could have gotten, because Aunt Ross was able to pull her out of that cycle, whereas like Sybil and her dad, they may have wanted to, but they just didn't really know how necessarily.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you just need your sisters. Like
the sisterhoods that are formed throughout the book and shown throughout the book really are special. I think I have two relationships that I really, really love in the book. The first one is between Erica and India. I think they do a really good job of showing how they're there for each other and they truly are like each other's best friend. And then also Sybil and Alicia, because their relationship really does develop. In the beginning, you can see that Sybil doesn't necessarily understand Alicia. She's like, why are you still working there? We get a lot of that in part 2. She's like, I can't believe it. And Alicia's like, girl, I gotta work. I need a job. And then we see in their older age, Alicia's like the first one to be like, you're doing this apology tour, why? Like, you need to move on and forgive yourself. And so I think it's so interesting how they show that this sisterhood, this friendship, it goes and lasts across decades, even when they're not constantly speaking, which I just thought was so sweet and amazing. And especially when we see in part 3 how Alicia's actually the one to give Sybil the MCAT practice guide. It's a really nice moment because you see how she sees Sybil. She knows how successful Sybil can be, which I just really appreciated. But overall, I think we see the idea of family grow and expand throughout the novel, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what are your thoughts between or about the reunion for Sybil and the girls?
I think it was really sweet. I think it still shows them being like two worlds apart, even though like they're both from like similar areas and everything, like them just being like a worlds away from each other. You know, I think it was really great seeing Erica like really still continue to like take care of her sister and like, be her sister's keeper and everything. Because, you know, Erica, she does have like some type of like a developmental delay. So I think it was really great showing that kind of relationship, how that's blossomed and continue to blossom, you know. I also think too, the discussion of like them living in like their grandma's old house that their grandma's passed away. Like we see this trend of like kind of familial like assistance like throughout the book, whether it be like your chosen family or like your biological family, because like even Erica has taken on this role of like, you know, this middle-aged woman now, and Sybil was kind of like, wow, like, you know, she's like, you know, she understands things like better, like deeper than I do. So I thought the reunion was really nice, and I thought Erica's interaction with Sybil was also nice too, and also I think quite realistic as well, which I thought was really important.
Yeah, for me it was really interesting to see and like, well, not see, but to read, because the girls are only about 10 years younger than Sybil, right?
Which is crazy. When they said in the part 3, they were like, Sybil's like, I'm 23. I was like, 23?
No,
I was
yeah.
like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So it was like
so
really
young.
shocking because like when you are like 13 and you meet someone who's in their early 20s, like that's a big gap, right?
Mhm.
But now they're kind of like, I think Sybil going back, she realized just how young they all were because Sybil came back and she was like, now I feel like the kid because she's in basically her peer's house when she visits Erica in India because they're in their 50s, she's in her 60s. So it's really like y'all be playing at the same things, like y'all be going to like the same events, you know?
Yeah.
Like if they were amongst community with each other, if they lived in the same neighborhood, they would all be going to the same activities, you know? So I think that was really interesting to see their growth and to also see it manifest through like time.
Which is really nice. It was interesting, like how you said that Sybil's like, I'm the kid now, because there's this, when they first see each other, I'm trying to think what page it's on, but there's this moment where, on page 326, Erica says, honey, it's so good to see you. We've been waiting for you. Traffic was all right. And I felt like that was such an interesting and beautiful moment because it really shows how Erica is a grown woman now. And Sybil's kind of taking this back seat. Sybil no longer has kind of a parental relationship with them like she did when they were younger. And you really see how now they're basically peers. And it even seems like in a situation that Sybil seems younger because she's calling her like honey and she's like helping her. She's like, oh, how was traffic? And so it's really nice. And then we also see when Sybil sees India for the first time, she's like, do you remember me? And she like gives India a hug. And so it's just beautiful to see. And it's really nice as a reader to be able to understand like they're okay.
Yeah. I thought it was really special at the end of that chapter. There's a quote on page 342 and it says, I was struggling with how I would make up for lost time, but now I know the time was not lost at all. It is just past. Thankfully, there's more of it. And I thought that was a really beautiful message. Like, she kind of she regrets not spending more time with the girls because they were her family. Because if you think about it, like, that's a long time to, like, especially the intensity at which their relationships progressed and, like, a very traumatic event in your life, you know? Because I'm thinking about everyone that I knew when I was, like, 13 years old. And would I recognize them in a crowd? Probably not. But they, like, it was one of the most fundamental, life-altering things that happened to them.
Right.
So that is the reason why Sybil's so important, and they know who Sybil is because of this event. So I thought that was really interesting too. Because without that happening, Sybil would just kind of be another figure, like another passing figure, you know?
So true. So my next question is, what was the most surprising part of, you can either do part 3 or the book altogether.
I would say the most surprising part for me was, I don't know if it's necessarily like surprising as interesting, but how like Sybil's dad doesn't go to church. I thought that was really interesting because like they're in the deep south, he's so entrenched in the community, like the black church, like especially at this point in time is like super integrated into the community, and like her dad doesn't go to church because I remember Ty had said something I think in part 2 about her dad not going to church or trying to get him into church, and I just thought that was really, really interesting. Another part I found really interesting too, or really surprising too, was how like I think the author just captured like some of India's personality and everything, like how she has this like affection for like animals and she's like very gentle and she's also like very aware of her surroundings. I thought describing her personality was very beautiful, and also not making it like a super like big focal point, like, oh, you know, well, she can't speak, she can't do this, can't do this, but also like kind of balancing that with, even though she is hindered in like one area, she's like really intuitive in other areas. So I think that was like the most like interesting, surprising things for me.
The most shocking thing for me was definitely Lou's wife being pregnant. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I was like, I wasn't expecting that. And I think especially because they were living in 2 different cities and like commuting back and forth, I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, like that was just so unexpected to me because I wasn't expecting it, but then it kind of like makes sense of why he was like, okay, I have to win this case because I imagine that was sort of like, if I put this much work into it and I'm away from my wife and I can't be there during her pregnancy. Like, I have to win this case. So that was shocking to me. And then another thing shocking was when Sybil and Mace kissed.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was really shocking.
I was flabbergasted.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what is going on here? But yeah, those were definitely like shocking.
Yeah, I think with Lou too, like, I think another part of it was, with his wife being pregnant, was like, he, in his mind, he might have been like, oh, I have to win this case not only for like the sake of like all this time spending, but also too, like, this case will put me on the map as like a great like civil rights attorney, like, and that's what Lou wanted. And like Lou, I will say that Lou is, he is a very like caring person. It comes out like different ways, but I think he is a very caring person. I think he really did care about Sybil and the Williamses and, you know, Black Montgomery in general. I think he had like this strong desire to help, like, naturally. So I think that was really great, to your point, Sydney.
Yeah, I know. I think he did care.
Yeah.
He definitely. I'm like, who else is putting in those like nights? Because that, and then also the way he took time to try to explain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely great. I think for me, it's kind of Mace and Sybil. Their whole relationship was surprising to me.
Yeah.
And at the end, Mace ends it, and like when they're saying their final goodbye on 349, and Mace says to Sybil, "You're free, Sybil. Use your freedom to change as many lives as you can." And that's really interesting because I think it shows how Mace knew that Sybil felt connected to this family. Not only does she love the girls, but also kind of as a burden. Like, she felt like she had gotten them into this horrible situation, and it was up to her to fix it and figure it out. And then also it's interesting, their whole relationship is just interesting because on the same like kind of goodbye, Mace tells Sybil, he's like, oh, you know, like, Ty's always been in love with you. And it's just like their whole dynamic is really interesting. And then the other surprising thing for me was when Sybil's mom comes back from Memphis and she starts like planning dinners and stuff. And I thought that was a really beautiful moment, but it's also surprising because it's like, it showcases, I think, mental health at that time and how people thought about it and how like interventions could help and change the sceneries and getting professional help, because her sister is like a professional.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really surprising, and I love that inclusion.
Can I add one more surprising thing that I forgot about? When Sybil was talking to Mrs. Williams, and she said, how will you manage? You couldn't handle that house on the farm. I was like,
that was crazy.
I was like, on page 335, when Sybil said it to Miss Williams, I was like, why would you say that?
That was so disrespectful.
I think it was just like, I think she, like, it was like kind of like misplaced like anger almost.
She was angry that they were leaving because Miss Williams, she's the one who announces that the family's leaving.
Yeah. And I think like also I think Mace like recognizing like Sybil's desire and stuff, but also him not like taking advantage of that too. I think it was really great because like Mace is probably like,
he's 10 years
older than her.
I was like,
and it goes back to like her dad being like, are you like, this man is like grown, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and that, I think that goes back to like when you are young and you do have like strong physical desires for like people, so especially when they're like older, it does like complicate things. And I think Mace, even though like deep down inside, like Mace probably like did really like Sybil and enjoy her company, he also knew like, hey, if she like stays with us, like that's gonna be like wasted potential because she's so young. She's 23. She has a really bright future ahead of her. So I really like how he encouraged her to like just basically go, you know.
But on one hand, I was like, is that cocky? Is that like being like, oh wow, like I really impacted her, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's genuine. And then also, speaking of that, I like that Mrs. Williams gets married again.
That's
that was really sweet.
I was like, oh, and then they had like the wedding photo at like the Sears photo of the two of them, and then it was sad that Mace died of like heart problems. But yeah, I liked how they gave us a catch up on the family, but without making it too like detailed and stuff.
Yeah.
So I really did enjoy that. So to kind of wrap up the discussion, I want to know, what was your favorite part? Part 1, part 2, or part 3? And then why?
I think mine was part 2 because you could really see them trying to like figure out how to resolve this, like how to figure out like everything, you know. And I think like part 2 was just packed with like so much different action. I think also I like part 2 because that was the part where they went to Washington DC and like sat before Congress and like testified and everything, and that was really powerful. So that was like part 2 because like you really see like the groundwork being laid for the case in itself in general.
I would agree with you, part 2, and I say that because I think that really shows Sybil and Ty's relationship, and we got to see it a lot deeper. And that was probably one of my favorite parts of the book, like seeing how much Ty cares about her, because like literally he's there all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, like every time there's an issue or problem, this man pops up. I'm like, but yeah, part 2.
I would actually say part 1. I really enjoy, first, I like that it ends off with the cliffhanger. Like, I like that, but then also I didn't like it, but I liked it because I knew the book was going to continue. So I thought that was really fun and interesting. And then also I feel like in part 1, we get to see a lot of Sybil's kind of like the groundwork for her character, and we get to know things right off the bat, like what she believes in, what she regrets in life. And also I feel like the opening chapter is really good when she's like, hey, she tells her story, let me see. Okay. It says, the only thing I have not done is tell you where I'm going or why. You know a little about the sisters, about the case that engulfed the country, but you don't know the whole story, and it's time for me to tell you. And I call your name again, this time I wave you inside. And that's page 5, and I feel like it really just lays the groundwork of how Sybil is as a person, and how she's still carrying with like this moment with her, and her like late 50s, early 60s, I can't remember. But I think it's just really beautiful. And I think also that could be when she visits Alicia, right, in part 1? Or is that part 2?
I think that might be part 2.
Let's see.
Oh wait, she's like, is she 70?
Sybil?
Yeah.
No, she's in her 60s.
Okay, yeah. Okay, she's in her, okay. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think she visits Alicia in part 2, Sabri.
Yeah, well, it could be part 1 because I know she visits Lou in part 2. So I think it is part 1 where she visits Alicia. But yeah, part 1's my favorite.
Yeah. No, I feel like all the parts we can make an argument that they're our favorite.
Yeah, they were really good. Okay, is there anything else you want to say about the book?
I really like this book. It's definitely surprised me, and I think this was a really great like historical fiction book.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. As someone who doesn't read historical fiction, I am very pleasantly surprised about this pick, Sabri.
Yeah. I really love the language used in this book. I think there's some really great quotes, and I love how it explores like human emotion and family and regret and change. So yeah, I would give this book a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely like reread this book. It was good.
Yeah.
Same.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Bye.